pizza rustica you find all over Italy, and that's translated to rustic pizza or a country-style pizza. But what's a little different about this pizza rustica is that it's a double-crusted pizza. So it's a pie, and the word pizza means pie to begin with. So we're going to be making a pie that's filled and baked, so pizza rustica. You want to start out by making the filling first because it will have to cool down while you're making the dough. So we're going to start out with some onions. So this is just one medium onion, finely chopped, and I've got it in about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And I want to get that soft. You want to add a little bit of salt with that and a little bit of pepper. So salt and pepper first with the onions. And once they start to get fragrant, then you can add the garlic. You don't want to add the garlic first or with the onions because the garlic is much finer and it will burn before the onions are cooked. So when the onions are soft, then you can add your garlic. You want about 2 cloves of garlic. Don't use garlic that's already chopped up in a jar because that's much too strong. It's been sitting around for a long time. It's not going to give a very nice flavor to whatever it is that you happen to be making. So while the onions are cooking down, let me tell you what else we're going to add for our filling. This is broccoli rape as it's sometimes called. And broccoli rape is a very bitter green. So what we did was we boiled it first and drained it and chopped it. Now it's cooked, but now we're going to flavor it in the onions. So the broccoli rape goes in. That's a very pretty green. I don't think I'm going to need all of this, so I'm going to use half of that. And with this, I like this a little spicy. So I'm going to add some hot red pepper paste. And I want you to know that I made that myself when I had hot peppers in the garden. But you can also buy hot pepper paste in a tube. And for this you need a little bit because this is hot. If you didn't have access to pepper paste, you could use hot red pepper flakes. So I add the hot red pepper paste, and believe me, that little bit gives this quite a nice little kick. So let that cook down a little bit. And then we're going to add some oregano to that, some dried oregano. Sprinkle that on. This is very much in the southern Italian tradition. Now with this, I also like to have olives. So here we have a selection of olives. We've got some Cerignola olives, and those are these very meaty green olives. They're absolutely delicious just by themselves, but they're also very good in this recipe. So here they are, already pitted. I'm just going to give that a little bit of a chop and throw those in with my broccoli rape. I remember my Nonna Galasso making this type of recipe very often on days when we could not eat meat, you know, like for Lent. So that goes in. And then here we have some black oil-cured olives. These you can buy in a jar. In the grocery store, they're readily available. And they have a very, very spicy taste to them. So if you don't like this, you can leave it out. So now you just move that around. You want to cook this over for about 3 or 4 minutes. That's all it really needs. Because of course you're going to bake this as a closed pie. Give that a good quick stir. And really that's all there is to it. I wish that you could smell this. And it's very earthy looking, don't you think? So it's going to be a great filling for our pizza rustica. I'm going to turn that right off now and put it into a bowl because we want to cool that down some. We don't want to put this hot into our dough because then it would be very difficult to work with. So in a bowl it goes, and we'll just set it aside. Now if you wanted to do this ahead of time, you could make this filling ahead of time, put it in the refrigerator and do it the day before. So there is our filling. you just admire that while I move this out of the way and talk to you about making the dough. So for the dough, we're going to do this right in a stand mixer. We're starting with yeast, of course. And this is a yeast that you don't even have to allow, in which you don't even have to allow the dough to rise. You just mix this in with the dry ingredients and you have dough immediately. So 1 package of yeast, pizza crust yeast, goes into our mixer. That's 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast. And then we want flour. And here you want to use a good unbleached all-purpose flour that has a high protein content because you need that in order to build gluten. Gluten is what gives structure to dough, especially to pizza and bread and that type of dough that you're making. So we have about 3 cups of flour in here. I'm not going to add all of it. I'm going to add most of it because I don't know how much I really need until I put the water in. A teaspoon of yeast goes, or salt goes in rather. And now about 1 1/4 cups of warm water, about 110 degrees. If you need to use a thermometer, get yourself an instant read thermometer. So we'll put the water in and turn on our mixer and let that go. And with that, I like to add honey. This gives just a bit of a sweetness to the dough, but it also helps with the yeast development because yeast loves sugar. So we put that in. And a tablespoon of olive oil, which I think I already put in. Didn't I put a little bit more in? Okay. So we have the olive oil, we have the flour, and now I'm going to bump this up. We want this in a circle, real. And you see that this dough is very forgiving. It doesn't slap back at me. All right, I think that's enough. Beautiful. Take it, plop it right there. Bring this over, and now stretch it to fit and to close the pie. This is why this is called a rustica, because it's a free form. Now it's starting to look like a rustic pie. Make sure those are really sealed well. Beautiful. Now that we've got that, we need to do a little egg wash. And we're going to brush this over the top of the pie. Remember, there's no rising with this. This is going directly in the oven. So with a pastry brush, this is going to give a very nice color, nice golden color to the pie. Brush this all over. Your oven is on at 375 degrees, and a pie like this is going to take about 35 minutes to cook. So make sure you brush it all over. Beautiful. And now we want to add some sesame seeds. This reminds me so much of my Sicilian grandmother because she always used sesame seeds over everything. So we're going to put the sesame seeds on top, a nice sprinkling of them. And if you wanted to, you could put some coarse salt on top. Beautiful. And then we want to add some cheese. And here is a really good Southern cheese. This is pecorino cheese. So you really want to keep the salt down. If you're adding coarse salt on top as well as the cheese, don't add too much coarse salt because this is a salty tasting cheese. So grate yourself up some cheese. That's enough. And sprinkle that over the top. Beautiful. And now we need to make just a little vent to allow some steam to escape in this while it's baking. So with the scissors, just put a little X right there. Ready to go. Guess what? This is going to be done in about 25 minutes. So 375 degrees. In it goes.